And that's why I strangled the weasel at. Oh, wait, no, I'm hot. Oh, oh, darn. Oh, heck. Oh, heck.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another week here at the VML, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. So, just to give you a quick recap of who we are, why you're here, we are a 10-week long Magic the Gathering Arena League, which showcases the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. So, this season was our largest season to date, season number 8. We had a total of 128 players. It was huge. So now we are at our top 16. We had all these people, 16 divisions. There was the 7-week round robin. Everybody played. We went to top 32 last week, and now we're at 16. And this is a very, very crucial week for these players because if you make the top 8, boy, are there some good things coming for you. The top 8 from this season get a invite to their local regional championships. And they also will get to play for the VML championships, which will be a 24-player invite-only event. We'll have 2 more seasons this year, and the top 8 from those 2 seasons will also carry over, and the top 2 at the VML championships will receive an invitation to the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. So this is a huge week because these players are not just playing, to make it to the end, they're playing for these invites. So just to give you a little info about those other seasons, we have our time frame. We will have the spring 2023 VML season number 9, and then the summer season number 10, and then the VML championships will be in the summer fall of 2023. Everybody get excited.
It sounds very exciting. I'm very excited about it.
And then also, if I skipped over this, but if you would like to support the VML, you can go and get some swag for yourself. Just go visit the mtgproshop.com/VML and get yourself a hoodie, get yourself a shirt, get yourself some gear. Support the VML. All right, so getting into this week, we have our top 16, and these were the decks that they decided to play. All right, Kuro, I'll let you take over on this.
Oh my gosh. So, first of all, it's worth noting that we have a lot less Grixis mid-range proportionally than last week. Last week, if you remember, we had about half of the decks were Grixis. Exactly half of them are Grixis if you include the Grixis artifacts as a Grixis list. This week, we do see a lot of the Is It stuff, which is somewhat similar to Grixis, but it's lacking in the black, which means that they're not going to have Invoke Despairs, they're not going to have Blood Tithe Harvesters, they're not going to have Corpse Appraisers, they're not going to have Shieldreds. Really, really important stuff. I think it's really interesting seeing this Is It ramp deck especially sort of flourish and start to become something that people are playing more, because I really like the list. I think it's really funky. But there are all these other lists too that are all in the more white range that are also going to be bashing in there with their aggressive strategies. So we'll have to see how that squares up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a fun week. So, all right, moving on, we'll go check out our players playing in match 1. So first off, we have Pipermaru. We asked them a few questions this week about their specific decks and what makes it stand out from other versions of it, since a lot of these decks are playing, either, you know, there's 5 Grixis ones, 5 Is It ones, and then the other 7, I think it is, if that's 16. Nope, that's 6. There's 6 more after that. We're kind of a random assortment. So for Piper, their deck, they're playing Azorius Soldiers, so that's one of those other random assortments. But their deck, they said they didn't have a lot of wiggle room. They put a Cathar Commando in because it is a soldier and it helps with, removal for, I think that takes out artifacts and enchantments. Is that right, Kuro?
Yes, both of those cards take out artifacts and enchantments, but Commando you have to sacrifice. Lauren does it on entering the battlefield, so that may be relevant as well.
Yeah. And then we also asked them what cards they don't want to see because, that's part of this open deck list. Brotherhood's End. And that's been a common one for a lot of these players is that they do not want to see that one happen. But it appears Piper's opponent does have 4 in the main, so it seems to be an inevitability at that point. And then for our fun question this week, we asked them, what's your go-to color combination when you deck build? Just for, some fun. And they said despite playing Grixis, they love blue-white, flyers and counterspells. And as we can see, they are playing Azorius this week. So,
Blue, white,
Kuro.
blue, white, blue, white. Sorry, I love
Oh, no,
blue, white.
you are fine. So let's talk about some of these cards to watch.
Yeah. So Slip Out the Back, I think, is absolutely crucial in a matchup like this. In the main deck, it seems to be the only answer to any actual removal. And one of the main problems with it is that it only saves one thing, unlike Protect the Negotiators, which we see in the sideboard. Now, it's interesting. I've been seeing Slip Out the Back a little bit more in the main deck recently instead of Protect. I think it's because people usually play around Protect the Negotiators. It's a lot harder to play around Slip Out the Back. A, because it's a cheaper card, so Thalia doesn't punish you as badly. And B, because it doesn't tax anybody. You don't have to hold up mana, or rather, holding up mana doesn't prevent it from working. With Protect the Negotiators, you can hold up 2, 3, or even 4 mana in anticipation of it, and it basically nullifies it. But Slip Out the Back, you can't really deal with, and wasting a Make Disappear on it can be really rough. Other than that, it looks like a stock Soldiers list. I'm excited to see it in action.
Yeah, same. Azorius Soldiers is one of my pet favorites from this new meta, so I'm very excited for this match. And then we'll go over to Piper's opponent, Kora. So I asked her the same questions, and her deck stands out because she chose to sideboard the Fables. I feel like that's a very interesting move. I'll let you talk more about that one. And then and then the next one, again, Brotherhood's in. That's the one nobody's wanting to see this this match. And then color combination. Kora says she's normally a green mage, but green isn't good in this standard. So here we are. That is it.
Well, yeah, I mean, once again, we have a week where literally nobody is playing a deck with green in it. And if they are, it's probably because of the tri-land. It's not because they're actually playing green spells. Those Fables in the sideboard, I think if this was a Grixis list, I would have said, I think this is an absolutely, I don't know if I would agree with that choice. But this is an Is It Artifacts build. And that has a fundamentally different strategy than Grixis does. Because where Grixis wants to amass accumulating advantage over time with value spells, Is It control decks like this one are actually more concerned with the artifacts. And they actually would rather have Power Stones than treasures, because those Power Stones last longer than a single turn. And you don't need to copy anything because you have Skittles, the Skittering Battalion, which copies itself twice anyway. I think the interesting thing here is I always love looking at the counterspell suite. There's one Essence Scatter, one Negate in the main, so I think its counters will not be very relevant here for the Is It list. 3 Disdainful Strokes in the sideboard that I do not think will get sided in at all, because that Soldier's deck does not have big plays. But a single Spell Pierce may actually come in, because it does answer that Protect the Negotiators. It does answer that Slip Out the Back at mana parity or better, and that could be very relevant here. We'll have to see how this goes.
All right. Well, let's not wait any longer. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
Ooh. Yep. Oh. Oh.
Despite Soldiers being a very low to the ground deck, it does not want to see one land hand like that.
It sure doesn't. That is a very unfortunate mull to 5, but at least here we have some lands, and since this is a low to the ground deck, I think we can throw back at least 1, possibly even 2 of them, and I think that's what we are watching Piper, I believe, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
I agree. I agree with you, actually, and that's sort of the upside of this is, despite those first 2 hands being really unplayable, this hand is actually pretty okay, even though you have to put back 2 cards. They're lands, so you don't feel like you're getting rid of gas. If anything, it actually makes you more confident that you'll draw creatures later, because you know that 2 of the lands are in the bottom of your deck. So that would make your statistics a little bit better.
Yeah, and despite having to put 2 cards back, it looks like Piper is not slowing down at all. Got a 1-drop, a 2-drop. It's coming along for her all right.
Ooh.
Over on Kora's side, nothing out on the board just yet. So Piper is able to get out with that aggro strategy, like, what Azorius wants to do. We will see an Abrade come down from Kora, taking out the soldier that was getting pumped by the frontliner.
Yeah, Piper missing a land drop here is really good. Is signaling that to Kora, and Kora is going to be responding in kind by basically pushing the advantage. Although that Power Stone may actually be useful. It can cast a Yoshin Frontliner, which is pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah, still missing another land drop. It's not great, but like you said, that Yoshin Frontliner can come down off of it, and we do have that slip out the back. The only problem is we do have that Thran Spider on the other side of the board, and that has a big butt, so pushing through is not going to be easy.
This my co-commentator is Miss Mix-a-Lot over there.
I like them. What can I say? We
There you
will
go.
see the Reckoner Bankbuster come out.
Ooh, nice. There it is.
All right, Siege Veteran coming down for Piper. We finally got that third mana, and we're going to see a Stern Lesson. At first, I thought that might be a counter spell, but we will have that Siege Veteran hit the board.
Well, it's important to remember that Kora's deck only has one counterspell that hits creatures.
Yeah,
And it
that's a
has
good
one
point.
negate, but that negate's probably not going to be relevant. This is an attack that Kora's going to block, but you have to swing it at this point because you have nothing left to do.
Yeah, at this point, Piper needs to just apply that pressure, because if she can't get pressure on Kora, the further we get in this game is going to, yep, it's going to be favoring her, especially with that Brotherhood's Inn coming down. That was indeed not what Piper wanted to see, especially with a Harbin being drawn right now.
But that is showing exactly the power of Siege Veteran, though, because Siege Veteran makes it so that you don't exactly lose your whole board. And that Harbin is able to trigger with those Yoshin Frontliners in the graveyard.
It sure is. So we could, if we get that Yoshin Frontliner out, but we're going to apparently wait on that one. I think we're going to hold up the slip out the back.
Yeah, because Piper didn't have enough mana to get those Frontliners out. We may see a win next turn, depending on what Kora plays here.
Yeah, that's a good point. That Thran Spider, just to note, does have reach, but depending on, how much we get out, how much power and like pumps that is, it could be very close for Piper against Kora.
Yeah, Kora needs a Brotherhood's End here because a Skitter Beam on the defense doesn't do it. Ooh!
Ooh.
And here's where Slip Out the Back is showing to be better than Protect the Negotiators.
It sure is, because that Might Stone comes down. We're going to try to take out Harbin, and Piper's going to give it the big nope.
No.
And not only did that protect Harbin, it gave Harbin a +1/+1, and so now we're going to see the big swing. Harbin's also safe from the Thran Spider now, and everything is going to get there's going to be pumps and flying. It's getting out of control.
Yeah, this is...
Yep, that is game 1 in favor of Piper.
I think that Siege Veteran was an absolutely clutch draw, and even though it wasn't landed as soon as she drew it, it was still what won the game, because getting that into a Harbin was just absolutely phenomenal.
I agree. Yep, coming to sideboarding, it looks like those, looks like the Denics are going to be coming out. What did we get in? What was that?
We got Protected Negotiators coming in, a Spell Pierce, which is nice.
I think we had a few of those Cathar Commandos coming in too, is what I saw first.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, because those Reckoner Bankbusters do give Kora a lot of, just card advantage, and also the Might Stone and Weak Stone also just gives extra mana. So being able to take both of those out, even if you're sacrificing a creature, is very important to Piper. All right. Gonna let that.
Gonna reveal that.
I was like, are we gonna reveal, or are we gonna just let that come in tapped? I don't think we had a turn 1 move, so. All right,
Really
and Dahlia hits the board, so taxes over. Okay, so now we see the Unlicensed Hearse. That must have been one of Kora's sideboards.
Yeah, that's there for the Frontliners, which makes a lot of sense to me, because I don't think Kora had a way to exile those from the graveyard otherwise.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's a very smart move on Kora's part, because that prevents, some more soldiers hitting and attacking at instant speed to, get Harbin off the ground. Well, Harbin's already off the ground, but Harbin gets the rest of the team off the ground.
I still can't believe Harbin costs 2 mana. That's
Very strong.
so good. So good.
Well, we saw the first Brotherhood's End come out. It was only, a 1 for 2 at that point. Not the worst, but still doing it kind of early. So it makes me wonder if Kora might have another Brotherhood's End in hand and just wants to protect that life total a bit.
Yeah, and after last game, I would want to make sure that you wipe before they get a siege vet down, especially since the siege vet gets that the name I'm blanking on, but the blue flying creature that just got exiled, the 2/3. Siege vet gets that out of Brotherhood's End range, and that's super important. You have to play around that. Fable got it in. Okay.
All right, yeah,
Cool.
we see that Fable getting sideboarded. We do have the Cathar Commando though, which can take it out, and I think that's what we might be seeing. We see the Cathar come out right now. I'm not sure if we're going to see it immediately sacrificed or if we're going to wait till later. If you were in Piper's shoes, what would you do? Would you sacrifice Commando now or would you wait?
I'm not sure. I think preventing the draw might be important here, but I always my own personal adage is wait until the last second to do something. The question is the last second the end of this turn before she draws, or is it the turn after later she tries to do something funky with it? I think preventing the draw makes sense because Cora wants to draw more Brotherhood's Ends, so you want to prevent her from getting that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that because it does seem like Kora might be flooding a bit over there and letting Kora, loot away a couple of cards and possibly draw into some more gas might be, difficult for Piper to come back from. So I do like that Piper did sacrifice that Cathar Commando at the expense of losing a 4/2 just to take out that Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But alas, here we see that Brotherhood's End.
And now we're going to see that Hearst pop off because not only does it exile the frontliner, but it exiles the Valiant Vet, which is further good. Further good? Further benefit. It further benefits Cora's. Further better gooder, thank you.
Most better. Yep.
The betterest.
There we
the point is that's
that Hearst did its thing.
The point is that's a dimension that Kora does not have to address anymore. It's a dimension that Piper can't play on.
And on Piper's End, at the same time, though, we do know there are 2 Brotherhood's Ends out of the way now. We only have, 2 more to go in the deck before, it's going to be pretty smooth sailing after that. I mean, there's still, I think, an Abrade or 2, if I remember correctly from the deck list, but that's going to be a lot easier. You might take out a Harbin, but when you have a lot of soldiers, it's not that difficult to build back up.
That's a good Thran Spider, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
If Cora's able to untap with that, that's going to be good. But giving Piper that token allows her to use that land that buffs, and I wonder if Kora has noticed this.
Yeah.
I want to see.
Yep, we're going to go recruit some officers. Or maybe. Maybe not just yet, but that might be a Kora's in-step type move, holding up the protect the negotiators.
I would have been very tempted to attack there with Harbin to see if Kora has paid attention to the lands. Because if Kora blocks with the spider, you can just pump Harbin and that kills the spider.
That is a good point.
But it doesn't have you out to protect, which means you can't counter Skitter Beam if Skitter Beam's out next.
And it looks like Kora definitely has the mana to get that Skitter Beam full. And there we go. That's it. Playing right into the Protect the Negotiators. So that was a good move on Piper's End, waiting, holding up that counter spell.
Yeah, if that Skitter Beam was cast for 5 mana, it might have resolved, I think. Or you would have forced Piper to use both of the counter spells, either of which is good value.
Yep. But here we go. It looks like we're going to see that land pump if there's a block, but no blocks, just for 3. And now we can hold up we have both the Protect the Negotiators and the Recruitment Officer at Piper's disposal now. I'm interested if Kora is going to make any moves with the Hearst to try to apply pressure on the backside, but I guess that does leave Kora wide open just because the Thran Spider is the only creature out on her side.
There's the one of Essence Scatter. Probably wishes that she had it maybe 5 turns ago.
Yeah. But
Definitely that.
now is better than never, right?
This is risky on Piper's end. If Kora's holding another Brotherhood's end, Piper essentially loses this game.
Yeah. Oh, well, looks like we're searching for it. We have the mana to cast it, but does not appear to have been what was drawn.
And Piper had to do that because the hearse is going to exile it anyway. So you have to get the advantage out of it. Because that land you can activate whenever you want. But that that is not staying in the grave. Oh, this game is going to be a while.
Yeah, this it's suddenly gotten very very interesting. All right. I am a little interested that Kora decided to hold back a 4/4 rather than crewing with the Thran Spider. I get it because, if you need to block in the air, you need to have something with reach. But that is another 4/4 that it could have potentially, slammed in for damage.
I think you have to be conscious that Slip Out of the Back also targets the opponent's creatures.
That is a good point.
And that, maybe this isn't lethal, but if the 4/4 is slipped out the back, for instance, because the 4/4 blocks the recruitment officer extremely well here, you want to be able to have at least one other blocker. And the spider is the least power, so you want to try to apply some pressure with those big boys.
That's a very good point.
Let's see what this gets, though. Ooh, Sky Strike is so nice.
But it looks like we're going to take the Resolute Reinforcements instead.
Well, that makes sense, because it's 2 more to get Hardman off. If that Hardman goes off, game over, man. Game over.
This is a little bit difficult, though, because just on board, Kora does have 12 trample, and then another, 2 with the spider. And, if we crew the hearse, that's a lot of damage coming through. So it looks like Piper may be forced to block just to survive this turn. Well, granted, the hearse can be blocked with the token from the reinforcements, and Kora does know about it. It still does, put them in a very, precarious situation.
Yeah, I agree. Those Skitter Beams having trample is an issue, but that hearse does not have trample, and that is extremely relevant here. Ooh.
Yeah, I think you have to flash that out and at least use the token to block the hearse. Otherwise, you're facing down lethal.
If Kora doesn't have anything, this is lethal. That Mishra's Foundry is going to get in. Okay, Fan Spider.
Okay, double reachers, so.
And does make it easier to activate the Mishra's Foundry. It's a little creature,
but
it's not.
We now have another Resolute Reinforcements. So is Harbin, you have to attack with 5. Is that correct? Or do you just have to have 5?
You have to attack with 5.
Yeah, okay. So Harbin cannot do the pump just yet.
Those double protected negotiators are probably feeling so rough right now. Piper is not in. This is not a place that Piper wants to be in because the Skitter Beams have trample. You have to count your toughness and say, how can I win this game? If I can't win this game, how can I block effectively while keeping creatures? Harbin may get in, but I would be tempted to double block with the spiders because that gets around the buff.
Yeah, it does. But it looks like Kora's okay trading off a single spider.
I would probably do that as well, honestly. But I would have double blocked because that would have potentially made Piper tap out, which potentially prevents other things. But either way, honestly, that Skitter Beam's getting in there. I think this is probably Kora's game.
Yeah, I think you're right. If Kora were to attack all out, just knowing what Piper has in hand, it definitely does seem that this would go Kora's way. But we'll have to see what decisions Kora makes because Kora may be holding something back just to try to protect themselves.
6, 7, 8, 9. That's 12. But then 2, so that's 10.
Oh, well, Kora decided to use one of the tramplers. So this is going to be interesting because obviously the hearse does not have trample. A reinforcement flash in could, block that. And I think, this is, you're going to have to trade off the recruitment officer and the other ones, but I think you have the chance to survive.
1, 2, 3, 4. And then that's 8 coming in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you lose skitter beam. Yeah, it gets pumped. You have to block basically everything here, I think. Wow, that's getting double blocked.
Yeah, I mean, with trample, you might as well make these trades because it's going to come through anyways, and then block as much as you can that doesn't have trample. And yeah, Piper will go to 2, keeping Harbin in the air.
Oh, but then now that Mishra's Foundry is going to pop off, that's it.
Yeah, that Bank Buster can't be crewed, so yeah, that will be the end of the game.
If Kora had crewed with the spider, that probably would have been that is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it
hasn't quite ended just yet. We know it's about to end. We see the lethal clearing them down, but there we go. I won't lie, I'm excited to see Azorius Soldiers making it to the top 8. That's been one of my favorite decks from this current meta, and I can't say that I'm not excited to see Azorius Soldiers go in the distance.
Yeah, it's definitely a menace, and regardless of how the players play, it's good job to both of them, by the way.
Yes, very good job.
Sorry.
Oh,
it's really no joke. It's really no joke what soldiers can do, especially even through 2 Brotherhood's End that resolved. I think Piper played that really well because part of playing against board wipes is you can't overcommit, and Piper did the perfect amount of committing just enough to prompt the board wipe without actually getting blown out by it. Like in the first game, there was no siege vet down. That Brotherhood's End would have been game, but yeah, she was able to pull it out. Very nice.
Yeah, great job to both players. It was hard making it to top 16, so congratulations to them. And big congratulations to Piper making it to top 8. We'll get that regional championship invite. So congratulations to her. And then, all right, let's go to our game 2 players. So to start it off, we have Emma. Her deck, she is on Grixis Midrange. You know, you love it, you hate it, you play it. So her deck has a lack of Invoke Despair, which keeps the curve lower and the mana base friendlier at the cost of power, especially in the mirror. So that was very interesting because I know Invoke Despair has been, a game changer in a lot of these Grixis decks. So that was a cool little differentiation about this Grixis midrange. A card that you don't want to see played. Basically anything that puts together their opponent's combo. I can understand if they're doing combos, you don't want to see any of those pieces. And then go to color combo. She looks at the deck's capabilities and plan more than colors, but by default, white, blue, and black tend to make it in a lot. So I'll let you talk more about the cards to watch and the deck itself.
Well, this is a standard Grixis mid-range deck, and for those of you who may not be familiar with it, like I said earlier, its goal is essentially to accumulate advantage over time by snowballing with card advantage and just really good value creatures. Bloodtide Harvester is a 3/2 for 2 with upside for some reason. Corpse Appraiser is a 3/3 for 3 with upside for some reason. Fable of the Mirror Breaker just is basically a 3-for-1 if it in the absolute best range, but it's 2-for-1 at its worst. For 3 mana for some reason. Anyway, Grixis puts all these cards together and it just says, okay, cool. The interesting thing is not playing Invoke Despair basically means that it's easier for Emma's opponent to tap out and to go to a lower life total. One of the biggest threats of Invoke Despair is the looming idea that at any point your opponent can play it and take you from 6 to 4 to 2 to dead, right? But if you have a creature out, it could be from 6 to 4 to 2, and suddenly you're in range to die to a single goblin token versus 3 goblin tokens. Not having Invoke Despair prevents that reach, but it does make the mana base easier, as Emma says, because that quad black really does matter sometimes. Shiv 4 Shiv and Reef is apparently common in these Grixis lists, despite having Invoke Despairs. And I have on multiple occasions see them not have the quad black for it. So I think we'll have to see how this goes.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Yeah, and that counter suite is pretty standard. 3 MDs in the main, bunch of extras on the side. It's good.
All right. Then her opponent is Josh. So Josh, this is a very unique build that I'm super excited to see. I saw it a few weeks ago and I was like, wow, this is crazy. We have Boros mid-range in the finals. So when I talked to them, they said that they homebrewed this list loosely based off some other reanimators. When I think reanimator, I don't think Boros. So that's also just blowing my mind. So yeah, we have Touch the Spirit Realm because of its interaction, Combat Thresher, and Portal to Phyrexia with the ability to rebuy touch as removal with the Sarah Paragon. There's a lot going on with this deck, and I'm very excited. What Josh doesn't want to see, that unlicensed hurt. Since this is Reanimator, any sort of graveyard hate is going to be the death of it. And then go-to color combo, they said if they had to have one, it's Jund. They play around the spectrum though, constructed Joy's decks with splashy effects and complex lines, and limited the niche changed by set, but Rakdos and Golgari. Looks like Josh just likes, black, red, and green in any combination.
There you go.
But yeah, please talk about this deck. I'm so excited.
Oh my god, it's Reanimator. So I don't know how many of you have seen the Reanimator decks before rotation, but with those ones, it wasn't Portal to Phyrexia, it was Velomachus Lorehold, right? And because you could Lorehold, and then you'd make a 9/9 Lorehold, and then you'd attack, and you get a second Invoke Justice. Invoke Justice is the core of this deck. Everything works because of it. Repair and Recharge is good too, because one with the Multiverse and Phyrexian Portal is great. But Invoke Justice is really the card that's phenomenal. And the reason why is because not only when you return something, the thing you return is essentially a 2-for-1, but it makes one of your guys extremely big and a threat, which is essentially a 3-for-1, kind of like Invoke Despair. But it's Invoke Despair in sort of the opposite way. Instead of destroying your opponent, you just bolster yourself to such a high degree. So imagine you get back Combat Thresher and put 4 counters on it. That's a 7/7 double strike that draws you a card when it enters. That's insane. That's so good. And then on top of all of that, you have 8 Reanimator spells. Let's see, 10 ways to discard. That's, I think, pretty reliable. 11 ways. I forgot the Celestis. It seems like an extremely streamlined plan, but if it works extremely well. I'm very excited to see this. Things to note, we have 3 Abrades in the sideboard, probably for the Grixis matchup. Makes a lot of sense to me. And then 2 more, one with the Multiverse. Honestly, I'm trying to figure out why those are there, but I'll get back to you if I figure it out.
Yeah, I love that this is a, Josh even named it Boros mid-range, but we do see a splash of blue, that little bit of Boros moisture in there with those, I think those are the Deserted Islands. But yeah, we have that little hint of blue. Yeah, Deserted Beach. So
just in case you need to cast that one with the Multiverse, which makes sense to me. I mean, it's always good to be able to cast them randomly. You don't ever want to be stuck with a 9-mana out and be like, all I have is white lands. This sucks.
All right. Well, I don't want to wait any longer. Let's get to these games.
Oh, I hope that it works at least once. I want to see it.
Yeah, I just want to see it happen one time. I want to see the combo. All right. Over on Emma's side, it looks like we got a good mana base. We have our red, blue, black, Blood-Tithe Harvesters, Fable. Over on Josh's side, we got a lot of white up there. Ooh, the only problem is there's not a lot of action until later on. Josh's side wants to see some stuff get into the graveyard. We have that Bitter Reunion, but there's no creatures. It's going to be difficult for Josh, but we're going to keep it.
The good thing about Bitter Reunion is that it does play double duty. If you have a lot of lands, you can sort of treat it as Fables 5 and 6 and discard that extra land. Ooh, Emma has an awkward hand with only slow lands. That's probably going to be really important because that means no Blood-Tithe Harvester turn 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we'll see that Bitter Reunion come down, and now you can discard some cards. Josh, I think, just discarded a few lands because it seems like Josh is getting pretty flooded. But we do have those Invoke Justices and the Repair and Recharge. If we can get some of those top end things in the graveyard. If we can get a Portal of Phyrexia in the graveyard, Josh will be set.
But Emma has that make disappear now, which makes it extremely awkward for Josh to try to do anything.
That's true.
This is rough. And this is open. Sorry, go ahead.
You're good. I was gonna say, it looks like that Brotherhood's End and that cut down are not going to do much. So Emma's going to just, cycle those out and get some more mana. And we have a Shouldered now. So it looks like Shouldered may be coming down on, the second main.
Potentially. I think Emma still wants to hold up Make Disappear just in case.
Yeah, that's not a bad move. Or just, double Blood Tithe Harvester. That's good too.
Josh doesn't have any board reps in the main. So this may be simply just to try to put more pressure down, make it harder to block.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think applying pressure is actually in Emma's favor right now because Josh doesn't have anything on board aside for that Bitter Reunion. And we know that the Invoked Justices are 5 mana. Their Pairing Recharge is 5 mana. There's nothing even in the graveyard right now. So why wouldn't it be smarter to just put a bunch of pressure on the board and just get out there and swing in?
Yeah. There is a land, and you can return any permanent with Invoked Justice, but there's no creatures out. So you return a land, and then that's it. It's a 5 mana Rampant Growth, which is not great.
Yeah, not what I would want to see.
Yeah, this is probably Emma's game. It's just a guess based on limited information.
And Josh draws another Plains, gonna get that Shoulder trigger, lose a life. And, Josh is like, I've had enough. We're gonna go to game 2.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I don't know. That hand was 5 lands and 2 spells. I don't know if I would have kept that in hindsight, but and that's in hindsight.
Yeah, I mean, you can always look back and say I would have done this or that, but who knows what you're gonna draw? It could have been gas. It could have been better, but unfortunately, so now. Oh, okay. And then seeing the Kaito come in.
Wait, is the name of that deck Can I Marry Fable of the Mirror Breaker?
Oh my god.
Okay, I love that. I love that touch.
We saw the Brotherhood's Ends coming out. I think we still have 3 cut downs in the deck currently, so we'll be seeing what's going to end up coming in, coming out. Liliana looks like she might be making the cut. Or not.
Yeah. Well, keeping in Liliana might accidentally do what your opponent wants you to do, which is discard the big reanimator spells.
Yeah, I feel like that completely plays to what Josh is doing, and so I think keeping Liliana out is probably the smarter move, just to prevent her coming in and enabling their deck.
Yeah, Lily comes down and says discard, and Josh is like, oh, okay, and discards one with the multiverse.
Actually, thank you. I needed that.
I wasn't drawing any fables, but now.
Looks like we're considering these Abrades and the Soul Transfer. It looks like, 3 Abrades, and yeah. Well, that will be Emma's deck.
Oh, they're going the one with the multiverses. They come in. The Bitterians leave.
All right. Interesting.
And that hand is.
And then there were some technical difficulties, so if anybody notices that the background might be a little bit different, we just had to remedy some technical stuff, so don't worry about it. They played their games to standard. Everything was kosher. We're good.
Yes, it was properly prepared.
All right, so Josh will get that Rafine's Informant, finally seeing something hit the board on Josh's side.
It finally happened. Very good.
Emma's deck is a little bit of a slow start right now with those 2 tap lands, especially with Josh having that Informant and now having the Combat Thresher coming out, drawing a card. And Josh also, just to say that, put it out there, Josh does have 2 Touch the Spirit Realms for removal pieces. So that's great on Josh's end, and Josh also has more mana to play with. So this was a much better start for them this game.
I love that you can channel Touch the Spirit Realm, because later in the game you can actually go ahead and channel, or you can return it with the Sarah Paragon. I think that's such a sweet tech. Emma has 3 counter spells in the hand right now, and if I were them, I would want to keep every single one of them, because you cannot let a single reanimator spell resolve.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think we definitely want to keep that Corpse Appraiser as well, because that's going to help with some graveyard hate.
It only exiles creatures, so you can't get the one with multiverse, which is an issue. There's no creature in any graveyard right now, which means that there's nothing to
That's a good point. That's a good distinction to make, is that it does not work for some of these big end things that Josh might have in their graveyard.
Oh, and this gets blinked, so it comes back as a 3/3. That's so cool. And there's the Sarah Paragon too.
Oh yeah, that oof. Oh, but Emma says nope, not having that come out. Not dealing with it. Gonna trade off the Rafine's Informant for the Corpse Appraiser. But Josh does still have a 3/3 double striker on board, so that is gonna be, well, never mind. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's gonna get taken care of by a Braid. I think Josh had an excellent start, but not having Emma having those 3 counters is definitely extremely bad for them.
It is, because we will see another thing get countered. Goodbye, Sarah Paragon. Hello, Disdainful Stroke. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Emma's holding up counter magic, which makes total sense. Oh, if Josh draws another blue, that could be a 1 with the multiverse.
Yikes. And well, Josh, at a certain point, Josh has to just bait out all these counter spells and hope that Emma's just out of them. It's just unfortunate that Emma is not out of them. But I mean, good for Emma. Like, good for her.
I mean, Emma's sideboard only had 1 negate, 1 pierce, and 2 disdain, and she managed to draw all 4 of them this game. That is really rough for Josh. Not gonna lie. Really rough.
We will see that Touch the Spirit Realm come down and take out that Fable. So at least we're not seeing these Blood Tithe Harvesters continuing to get, copied, getting more blood tokens, because that would eventually, that would probably take the game away in Emma's favor.
Yeah, it'd really suck if Emma had a second Fable in her hand.
What are the chances that would happen? Oh, high. Very high.
Apparently. So, Reliquary gets sacrificed, which makes total sense. There is an Invoke Justice.
Oh, it's difficult not being able to see Josh's graveyard. I know there's some things in there. I know the Invoke Justice, I don't think gets back everything, and it's not like it matters, because here we go, negate.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. And yep, I think at this point we, probably just slam in for 5, and I think Emma would probably be pretty safe playing that shouldered at this point, and that's what will happen.
And
we're not, unfortunately for Josh, they are not quite at 9 for that Portal to Phyrexia to come down. So we'll get the Rafine's Informant.
And doesn't have the land to reanimate that portal. Oh, that's so rough.
Oh, yeah, unfortunate for Josh. We are 1 mana short, and there's just enough on board for this to be lethal.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, good games to both. I am very sad that we did not see Josh's combo at least once, but congratulations, Emma. You did an amazing job. That, Grixis coming in and doing Grixis stuff.
Yeah, we really see the power of all those counter spells being cited, and that was a really fantastic choice by Emma, because that really paid off for her.
Yeah, that was definitely the deciding factor in that game, was having all of those counter spells, which, it was very unlikely that Emma would have all of those, but the fact that she did, and she was able to, play them at all the crucial moments, I think that really made that game like swing in her favor, because Josh was ready. Josh had so much stuff in that graveyard, and it was like, one after the other trying, and Emma just said, no, no, no. So
and you really have to play into them too, because my whiteboard here has all my counter spells on it, just in case you're wondering why I keep looking down. You really have to play into those counter magics, because you can't just let your opponent make you wait, especially if they're putting pressure on you, whether it's with a Blood-Type Harvester or a Goblin token. I mean, if a Goblin token, gosh, that's making treasures out the wazoo. You can't wait for that to kill you. You have to try to get the animator spells out as soon as possible. And it's just, yeah, it's just statistics.
But congratulations to both players for making it to top 16. Congratulations to Emma for making it to the top 8. And I hope you enjoy your RC invite. And welcome to the VML Champ invite as well. So we'll see you at the end of the season in that. All right. Are we ready for the third match, Kuro?
Rock and roll.
Let's get to it then. So for match number 3, we have Choral. So they are on Grixis artifacts. So what's different about her deck? She added the Phyrexian Dragon Engine and Mishra. It's Mishra, not Mishra. It's not me. Yeah, it'll help her board. Yeah, you know, if it's not my name, I mean, what is it? It'll help the board presence against the beefier mid-range creatures while still enabling synergies. Card that, you know, seems like nobody wants to see tonight is Brotherhood's End, because it can turn card advantage into deficit. And the go-to color build, Naya and Jund. You know, anything red, green, either white or black. You know, I have to say those are probably my 2 favorite as well. And if, you know, they said if they didn't find this weird combo deck, they probably would have been forcing Jund. Meta be damned. So I'll let you talk about this Grixis Artifacts deck.
So I think the biggest thing that differentiates Grixis Artifacts is 2 things. Differentiates from Grixis Midrange, that is, to be very clear. They do share many elements. For instance, they both play Fable. They both play Blood-Type Harvester. But the cool thing about those cards is that they're so good that they can just fit in with many different strategies. And the core difference, I think, is that this deck, first of all, doesn't play counterspells, and that is already a hint at what it's trying to do. This deck is more proactive than Grixis Midrange. Why is it more proactive? Because it's playing Third Path Iconoclast, because it's trying to make a lot of tokens, because it's trying to place the Healy down, because it's trying to get Oni Cult Anvil down. This deck wants to get things down and fast, and it tries to do the card advantage game that Grixis Midrange usually does, but it does it in a way that aligns more with its aggression rather than being potentially defensive. And we can see this by the only counterspells in this deck in the 75 is 2 negates in the sideboard. Instead of that, we see disruption in the form of 2 duresses in the main deck. Main deck duress always makes me upset as a control player, main deck duress, because I'm like, why are you playing main deck duress? But in this format, it really does work, despite my salt. And then 3 Voltage Surge. Voltage Surge kills everything in the format. In Grixis, it only doesn't kill Shieldred, but it kills Shieldred with a 1/1 token, so it might as well kill Shieldred. And you have lots of things to sacrifice. 2 negates, 3 abrades, 2 cutdowns, just all removal tribal in the sideboard just to try to address whatever it is the opponent's doing. The core of the deck is in the deck. It does artifacts, and it does that well. I'm excited to see it in action.
Yeah, same. Let's see Coral's opponent. Kora is going to be playing against Zoe tonight. Oh, and we're going to see a Grixis off. Grixis Artifacts versus Grixis Midrange. So the difference with Zoe's deck, added 2 copies of Brotherhood's End in the main deck. That's what nobody wants to see, so put it in the main, right? And then a key card you don't want to see played against you, that turn 3 Fable. Nobody wants to see that either, at least against them. And then when I asked what her go-to color build is, blue-red. And is it mage at heart? So please tell us more about this Grixis midrange deck I've been hearing about.
Well, you know, I know we haven't seen that much Grixis midrange recently, but I might as well talk about it. So sort of like what I was saying earlier, like 5 seconds ago, the main difference here is we can see there's counterspells, there's Reckoner Bankbuster, there's board wipes. This is all indicative of a more defensive deck. Despite Invoke Despair being a very aggressive card, it's an aggressive card that's done very defensively, right? Because it does it by not bolstering your own game plan, but by tearing apart your opponent's game plan. If you're tearing apart your opponent's game plan, that makes you a defensive sort of strategy. Obviously, the entire deck isn't just defense, because that would be control, and that's what I would play, and this is not a deck that I would play. Just because it's not control, not because it's not good. But we can see 4 meat disappears in the main. That you will not see that in the artifacts deck. 2 negates, 1 disdain in the sideboard. And I love that Wandering Mind there. That's a card that I like to see a couple copies of. It's interesting that it replaced Corpse Appraiser here, though. Or 2 Wandering Minds, sorry. It's
Yeah, it's a little strange how MTG Goldfish did the splits, because there's one in the bottom right, one up. But I know, I didn't know how to fix it. I tried.
In that case, I blame them and not you, so you're good. Anyway. 3 Go for the Throats, which will be really, really awkward in this matchup because Go for the Throat does not kill artifacts, but it does kill all the enablers. It kills goblin tokens. So I think this will be a really interesting thing to see. I'm wondering if Invoke Despair might get set out or get sided out, because killing a token with Invoke Despair doesn't exactly feel good.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest feels bad, where it's like, okay, you can have my 1/1. I'll just make a new 1/1 potentially.
Yeah. Invoke Despair is almost better when you're not killing stuff. If it's draw 3, you take 6. That's kind of insane. Kill 2 dudes, draw 1 is not as good, especially when it's sacrifice.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Right. Well, let's get to it then.
Yes.
All right.
These openers.
Well.
Oh.
Looks like Zoe has a pretty good opener. Gonna snap keep that one. And it looks like Choral. I think we're okay. Yeah, we have an Nicole on 2. Misha's on
no, not on 2.
Slow. Yeah, never mind slow lands.
Yeah, this is actually really slow for Choral, and she might get punished for this, depending on how these next few turns go. Xander's Lounge is nice. All those lands are coming in tapped anyway. Not getting Research Desk down in turn 1 and Iconoclast turn 2 is probably extremely dangerous. But this is kind of the cost of just Grixis strategies in general. They all have a mana base that sometimes can't do anything on the first 2 turns. Sometimes you do everything on the first 3 turns. Like.
Yeah, and Zoe said the thing that she doesn't want to see is a Fable on turn 3. What does she do? Fable turn 3. We will see that third path Iconoclast come down on Choral side. Yeah. At this point, I think. One Bank Buster go in when you have a second one in hand. When you do draw another land and another Bank Buster. Wait a second, I thought we just got rid of those.
Yeah, Zoe is clearly in the driver's seat here with all of that pressure. Coral only having 1 creature that is probably going to die this turn to a Braid. This is really rough. And that Abrade leads into Corpse Appraiser next turn. So this is.
Yeah, it sure does. This is interesting, potentially just forcing a trade with the third path Iconoclast, or, no trades. Sometimes you can just push that damage right through. Are we going to see this Corpse Appraiser come? Nope, Reckoner Big Buster. Okay.
I don't think there's a reason to. There's no creatures in the yard, right?
Yeah, for some reason I saw them cursor over it, and so I thought that they were contemplating it, and I was like, why? And then they didn't. So I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, fair enough, valid. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, this is really rough. Having not cast that Research Desk means no token there. Oh wow,
double
what a choice!
Saheeli. Yeah, it's like, which should I choose? Saheeli 1, Saheeli 2. But, Choral is at 4 mana now. We're going to get the other third path Iconoclast down and an Nicole Anvil. So it looks like we can hopefully maybe start, getting that kind of combo together. The artifact gain and drain.
Choral doesn't sacrifice the token to the Anvil. That's an interesting decision. I'm not so sure how I feel about that, because the Anvil does not give you a token on your opponent's turn. It only gives you a token on your own turn. So usually the reason why you wouldn't sacrifice your artifact on your turn is because you think that they're going to try to kill your token and you want to sack it in response, I guess. But if you have a 1/1 artifact token, you may as well sacrifice it to the Anvil.
Yeah. Yep, that is very interesting. That little goblin will come in, make another treasure, and now we'll see that Corpse Appraiser come out and going to exile one of those third path Iconoclasts.
There goes that.
At this point, I think we need to do another Fable, right?
I would want to. Zoe being so far ahead, though, it may not even be necessary. She's thinking of the go for the throat. I think that makes sense because Choral is trying to get creatures down. And if Zoe can prevent Choral from getting any more Iconoclast or even a Fable token out.
Yeah, and that's a good point because right now Zoe has a bunch of, stuff that's 2/2. It's not going to trade off with a single 1/1, which, it could trade off with a 2/1/1s, but, you're still pushing in a lot of damage. But we do see that Phyrexian Dragon Engine.
That is really sweet here because that does not die to go for the throat.
Yeah, you're right. At this point, that go for the throat is not looking too strong when your opponent only has artifact creatures.
Here we're saying why that cut down might have been very nice here and not hit go for the throat because Zoe is playing is playing 3 go for the throat as the main removal bits.
Mm-hmm.
Only 1 cut down there. Only 1 card that can kill that. Oh, I guess the braid's there actually, so there's braids. I did not count those. Oops.
Yeah, it's hard to remember that a braid, just destroys artifacts, which is the complete, counter to Coral's deck.
There's a second go for the throat in the hand. Oh.
Yeah, not going to be very helpful, but these Blood Tithe Harvesters will be.
Yeah.
But, you can sack it to the Nicole Anvil.
Might as well.
Yeah. You won't get the token, but you'll at least get to gain and drain for 1. Better than just having something die without any effect. This is looking a little rough for Zoe.
Yeah. Would you believe that 1 damage with the anvil is the first time Coral has hit Zoe this game?
Oh man, yeah, that's I would believe it looking at these life totals.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna see.
Coral needs a Hail Mary to get out of this one, I think.
Yeah,
Dragon Engine.
I agree because we can have Fable come down, we can have another Phyrexian engine, Dragon Engine come down, but I'm not sure with that Kiki Jiki and Blood Tithe Harvester on field. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to save Choral at this point.
Yeah, the Fable Harvester combo, if you will, is extremely difficult to get around with other than just removing it directly. If you want to try to get a bunch of creatures down, it's not going to work because you get a blood every single time you copy it. So eventually you get full blood, which is -8, -8. That's big enough to basically kill anything in the format. I can't think of a single thing that would be bigger.
Rust Goliath, but no one's playing green. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah. What is green? Is that a word?
Yeah, right. That's a color.
That's a color people. There's green in this game.
Ooh, we are going to see a third duress making it into the main. And it looks like these go for the throats might be coming out after what we saw this last game.
There goes Brotherhood's End. There goes the cut downs. Keeps in 1 go for the throat. I like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, contemplating adding in a few more counter spells, it looks like. I do like that Blade Coil engine in there. That's a game finisher. I don't think it's gonna make the cut, but just want to point that out.
Yeah, I like that card. As a card, it's very nifty. I think the design of it is really good.
I remember seeing that on the previews, and I was like, "Woo, that's a card."
Sides out a harvester, puts back in make disappear. Okay. Oh no.
Oh, we're gonna see a Siphon Insight. Okay.
Make disappear is always an interesting one because it's better on the play than it is on the draw, in my opinion. And the reason why is because, wait, is that right? Am I mixing it up? I might be mixing it up actually. I think it's better on the draw than it is on the play because you can counter Fable and then immediately play Fable after. Sorry, I mixed it up.
Oh, you're good.
On the play, it's usually kind of awkward because the thing you counter is not something you want to counter with make disappear. Usually you want to counter a 3-drop. You want to counter things that cost more than the counterspell itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's just value at that point, right?
Exactly, you're getting a mana advantage because that means that's why Go for the Throw is usually so good because you kill Shieldred, that's 2 mana that you're ahead. It's not card advantage, but it's similar because it's about resource usage, right? And that's sort of the whole name of the game. And here's the turn 3 Fable.
Yep, turn 3 Fable. Gotta love it.
Unfortunately, Zoe is the High King of Skyrim and has a board wipe for it, and also removal, and also a second board wipe, and also
board wipe, practically a board wipe. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Zoe's hand. However, do you see that Choral has a duress just waiting?
I do see that Choral has a duress just waiting. I wonder if Choral is going to cast it next turn. The answer is probably
I'm
yes.
interested because depending on what land Choral plays, we could see Saheeli come down.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it looks like we don't want either of those lands.
Ooh. Iconoclast actually is good because Iconoclast Anvil starts the engine. But Iconoclast Duress
but then we also do see 2 Brotherhoods ends, which will, break that engine very fast.
Yeah, this is potentially going to be very good for Zoe because Zoe can Brotherhoods and kill those anvils after Go for the Throating that Iconoclast. This is extreme value to the extremeness.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love seeing this for Choral if I didn't know what Zoe had coming.
I think it's really showing the power of Brotherhood's End, though, as a card in this format. Like, it destroys soldiers, and it destroys Anvil. One of my friends is actually a big Anvil enthusiast, and so I'll have to ask him what they think about Brotherhood's End in this format, because, wow, this is rough. So rough.
Yeah, at this point, Choral just had to, do the sack, drain, whatever you could, because you're losing it all.
And that lounge is a tap land, so you have to choose between Saheeli or Duress right now.
It looks like Saheeli is going to make the cut. That's a better use of your mana at that point. You have 4 mana. Why leave it open? You also get to make the Thopters and swing in for a little bit, apply some pressure. But we do, unfortunately, know.
Oh no! And it's over. Probably.
It's not looking good for Choral currently because we see 2 Invoke Despairs and a Reckoner Bankbuster. Ugh. It looks like
and Choral didn't play Iconoclast first either, which is so rough. So there's not even a second, not even a token out there. Well, it wouldn't have mattered. There's a cut down. Wow.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like Zoe's going to get rid of that cut down too quick because we know that, that Iconoclast, we don't know it's in Choral's hand, but we know that can hit the Iconoclast, and that's a key part of Choral's engine.
I honestly think that it doesn't even matter anymore because if Choral lands an Iconoclast and makes like a token by playing an Anvil, Zoe has 2 Invoke Despairs.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah.
We're going to see a lot of card draw. We're going to see 6 life lost. Yeah, that's
and Arena did the thing where
it's not looking good.
Arena did the thing where it didn't stop, which tells Zoe implicitly that Choral didn't have a counter spell. So Choral was like, "Dang it, I have to play this now because I can't pretend to have a counter anymore." Oh my god.
Brotherhood's End again.
A 1, 2, and a 3, and then
Wandering Mind. Was better than 2 Invoke Despairs? 3 Invoke Despairs?
A 1, a 2, a 3,
Ooh, and a land is not what Choral wants to see off of that. So we'll get in for 2. We'll give some more Despair, lose 6, draw a bunch of cards.
It doesn't even matter that they're all lands. It doesn't matter at all.
No, it sure doesn't.
There's a land and Takenuma. Oh, yikes. So many lands on Choral's side.
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate kind of case of flood for Choral, and those Brotherhood's Ends really, really were the game changers in this game. It was a very valiant effort, but that Grixis mid-range beat out Grixis artifacts in the long run.
There you go. I guess that really kind of shows the way that Grixis midrange plays defense very, very well. Kind of like what I was saying earlier, being able to counter and address all of the threats that Grixis Artifacts is trying to do, whereas Grixis Artifacts in turn doesn't really have a lot of ways to control what Grixis midrange is trying to do. They don't have counter spells for Fable. Their removal is kind of so-so. So, like I said, I don't think a Voltage Surge was even cast that game. I didn't see one, or I don't remember seeing one. If there was one,
it was cast one time at the very end of that second game to take out a Blood Tithe Harvester. That was it.
Oh yeah, that's not significant.
Yeah, but you know, great game. Congratulations to both Choral and Zoe for making it to the top 16, and congratulations to Zoe for making it onto the top 8. I'm looking forward to you getting your RC invite and to going to the VML champs later this year.
Big deal.
Well, we have one more game tonight. Are you ready, Kuro?
Actually, can you wait half an hour, please?
Oh, look at the time. I think we don't. I don't think we can. So let's roll right into the next one.
I'm down.
All right. So first we have Oa.
What the heck?
We are on another Grixis midrange deck. You love it, you hate it. So this one, it stands out because Oa says that they like cards like Siphon Insight, and they actually added Evelyn. I have not seen an Evelyn in any of these decks before, so I'm actually kind of excited to see that interaction. A card that they don't want played against them, Mightstone and Weakstone. There's ramp, there's potential card draw, and if you really need it, you can even use it as a piece of removal. And then go-to color combos, anything with black. Rakdos and Orzhov being the favorites. They said that they need their decks to be at least somewhat goth.
I love that.
I think that's great. So you want to talk about this Grixis midrange deck?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's similar to the last Grixis midrange deck. There's a lot of similar pieces. The main deck, Siphon Insight and Evelyn, is like Oa says, is very, very idiosyncratic. This is sort of a personal choice. Evelyn is a very interesting card. So since we don't really see it often, if it's okay with you, I'll just recite the text really quickly.
Yeah, of course.
For the purpose of knowing what it does. Evelyn is a 5-mana 2/5 with flash. When she enters, or another vampire enters, you exile the top card of each player's deck. Once per turn, or once on your turn, I think it's once per turn, you can play a card that is exiled by Evelyn. So the reason why Evelyn can be so good in Grixis, in this deck specifically, is it just so happens that Corpse Appraiser is a vampire and that Blood Tithe Harvester is a vampire. So both of those trigger Evelyn as well. Now, I don't see that many Blood Tithe Harvesters in here, actually. I think those are Wandering Minds. So it appears that Blood Tithe Harvester has been sort of taken out in favor of Evelyn. But it is worth mentioning that all of those cards work well together. And if Evelyn lands and you're able to use both of those cards, that's a 3-for-1, right? Because you get a creature and draw 2 cards, basically, in addition to those Invoke Despairs. So leaving an Evelyn on the battlefield for longer than a round, as in 1-2 turns, can be very, very dangerous. No counterspells in the sideboard, too. That's very ambitious. I love that.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I'm excited to see this variation of Grixis midrange. So now we'll go see Oa's opponent. Oa is going to be playing Nicole tonight, and Nicole, she is on Izzet Control. So what's different about Nicole's deck? Burn Down the House. She said that their opponent's playing Evelyn to beat the Grixis Mirror last week, and there's a post-board Shieldred is a significant problem for the red-blue since it wants to draw cards. So they decided to add Burn Down the House because that's 5 damage. That'll take out Evelyn. That'll take out Shieldred. So that's what's different about her deck. Something that she doesn't want to see: a resolved and snowballing Evelyn, as we just talked about it. And like she put it up above, a post-board Shieldred. That's a big threat to any Izzet decks because that's just going to ping ya until you're dead if you're going to draw all those cards, which is what Izzet wants to do. And then go to color combo, any blue anything mid-range control shells. She says she likes a bit of proactivity with her cards alongside reactivity. I feel like you can relate to that, Kuro.
Well, I actually usually play cards that are as reactive as possible, reducing the amount of proactivity. I try to play as few threats as possible. If I could play a deck that's 0 threats, then I would. But this is interesting because first of all, Nicole is really insistent about the burn down the house reference. I believe it's Talking Heads, the band, right?
That
That says
sounds right.
burning down the house. Yeah, yeah. She was very, very happy that I got that reference. So props to that. The interesting thing about this list is that those spiders are in the sideboard, and I think that's partially to hedge against a braid. But those being in the sideboard means you don't have defense against early creatures like Fable's Goblin, Bloodtithe Harvester, even a Corpse Appraiser gets blinked by a spiders. And that spider can really draw you cards too in the late game. So that'll be really interesting to see. I do like the burn down the house. I think it is interesting to hedge against Evelyn in that specific way. And after going full ham about how great Evelyn is, I feel almost a little sheepish talking about burn down the house as an answer to Evelyn because it's probably going to see it at least once where it'll be like, oh, yay, Evelyn. Oh, wait, now she's dead.
Burned down. I also I see that there's a foursome of the Might Stones and Weak Stones in here. So, Might Stone and Weak Stone, you're going to want the card draw off of it. But if you do need an answer, that can potentially take out the Evelyn or the Sheldred because you have a potential of doing the -5/-5. And their butts are 5s, so you can take them out.
They are 5s. That is absolutely true. And so we have essentially 6 main deck answers to Evelyn. But Evelyn does have Flash. So she will be able to cast a couple cards. We'll have to see how this goes.
Yep, let's get to it.
All right. Got some counters on both sides.
Okay, for Oa, that seems like an okay starting hand. Not too slow. We have a Bank Buster and double Fable. Over on Nicole's side, we see also double Fable. Oh boy. It's going to be a Fable versus Fable.
It's going to be a fabulous game.
We see that Reckoner Bank Buster coming out.
So Oa playing this Bank Buster actually signals no make disappears at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it signals this very hard because if Oa had to make disappear, they would have held it up.
Yeah.
Specifically for this exact reason, making sure that Fable doesn't land so that Oa is the first one to land a Fable. Nicole being able to land the Fable first is going to matter an extremely high amount because, for instance, she can attack with a Goblin, make a token, play a land, and play Mightstone, Weakstone now, potentially.
Yeah, and that puts Oa in a difficult spot because do you block with your Goblin and then you potentially don't get a treasure token? The first one to land the Fable, I feel like it's a very critical point in a game.
Yeah, it's actually the reason why I started playing Spell Pierce in my control decks is specifically because I kept playing against Fable, and they're more confidently playing it turn 3 if you only hold up 1 mana instead of 2, because make disappear is so common. Here's a Mightstone, Weakstone, and then a Reckoner Bank Buster showing the power of that.
That's so much value getting to play the Mightstone, Weakstone, draw those cards, and play the Bank Buster off of it. That's huge. So
it's a lot of value, like 300 megabytes on a floppy disk. So value.
So Oa decides to Siphon Insight, and
discards the Siphon Insight.
Oh, yeah,
makes sense.
Sorry, discards it.
It's all good. It has flashback, so it makes total sense to discard. But now, what do? I think Oa's plan was to get Evelyn down, but you had to address the Goblin. But oh man,
yeah,
I can see Oa's mouse flickering over the.
Yeah, it's like, do we take out the Mightstone, Weakstone? Do we potentially take out the Bank Buster for even more draw? Like, yeah, Oa's got a lot of threats over on Nicole's side that they're trying to, evaluate what is the worst one over there.
Yeah, Oa's going to try to signal a counterspell now, I think, which is why Oa didn't play a second Fable here. But it may not matter. We'll see how this goes. Nicole only have 7 mana, so no leveler yet, but that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, because Nicole may only have 7 mana, but Nicole does still have a lot of gas in her hand. A second Fable. if we need that second Might Stone and Power Stone, say if Owa goes to Abrade, the current one, that's an option.
2 mana is being tapped here. Is this Fable or is it? Nope, not being tapped, untapped. I feel like if I was in Nicole's position, I would probably just try to press my advantage, Fable, and just keep Bank Bustering. Don't play the second Might Stone, Weak Stone until it gets abraded, potentially, because you want to make sure that it doesn't get any extra value.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're ramped up to your Cityscape leveler, especially when you're this close, having the mana in your hand. Also, getting this Fable down, if you get to the second step of the Fable, you can even loot away some of these cards. Like instead of cycling the Xander's Lounge, you could potentially just loot it away and find something as well for cheaper when you can draw off of the Reckoner Bankbuster.
Yeah, why cycle Xander's Lounge when you can instead cycle Xander's Lounge? I mean,
yeah, for free. All right, we're going to see that Abrade come down and hit first Fable. Because if Nicole was able to get the double Fable combo going, there's probably going to be no stopping her at that point.
I think Nicole not having those spiders right now is really paying off. Because if that spider was in play, Abrade kills it, Corpse Appraiser exiles it, gets extra value. But since Fable's not a creature card, you can't exile it with Corpse Appraiser.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Oh,
this is scary.
That's very interesting that swamps are the only basic land that Owa is running in their deck.
Yeah, that might matter a lot. Nicole only has that one field of ruin in there.
Yeah, but
I'll tell you what,
this is big for Owa because that gets rid of the Goblin token. That gets rid of second Fable.
it does.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is good because Owa's also going to get that card, at least a little bit of card advantage too. Do some damage, get at least one more card. So, it may not matter though, because you see the Cityscape leveler come down, and now you got an 8/8 with trample destroying boards. So,
Sounds.
yeah. And we're gonna wreck it with Bankbuster while we're at it.
I would like you to tell me, how does that big old thing fit into that Reckoner Bankbuster? Can you explain this to me? Because that seems physically impossible.
Lots of bits and pieces and steps, I'm sure.
He puts in his hand and then uses the steering wheel with 2 fingers and goes, "All right, the little car, here it goes."
Oh, this is very interesting because we see that Owa does have the Urtai Resurrected in hand, which can be a flashed out counterspell. So then, yep, Owa was ready.
So this Urtai can kill the leveler.
Yeah, another target creature or planeswalker. So yeah. Owa was ready for that Cityscape leveler with the Urtai. This has been a very good back and forth. However, we do know Nicole has 2 Brotherhood's Ends, which could take out both of those creatures, or could potentially take out all of the artifacts. It looks like we're going to take out the creatures this time, though. But Nicole does have second Brotherhood's End if we need to take out artifacts.
I think Nicole's more interested in making sure that Bankbuster gets all the cards first before getting the Brotherhood's End. But I honestly wouldn't hate it because there's a second Brotherhood's End. And a Skitterbeam? What? I missed that. That's a nice draw.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
We're going to Field of Ruin Owa again. And we know now from the last Field of Ruin that Owa only has swamps. So this is actually really going to hurt them because they're not going to have another source of blue to get off of this, Field of Ruin. But we have a Xander's Lounge, so it's going to be slow, but we at least have a replacement.
I think drawing there with the Bankbuster was very risky because if you draw the last basic land, and I know the likelihood is very low because there's probably about 35 cards, 40 cards left in Owa's deck. But if you draw that last basic, you basically have destroyed your own land. And when you're playing against Field of Ruin and your opponent's aggressively Field of Ruining you, you have to be very conscious about that. You never know when they're going to get rid of all your color sources.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it looks like lucky for Owa, we drew that Shipwreck Marsh, and so we have blue again. and going to exile that Cityscape Leveler so it's not going to unearth and come back. And this is interesting. 2 Duresses in the Wandering Mind. I think the Duress is definitely the correct pick here. Take a look at Nicole's hand, see what we've got going on over there, and see what we can get out of their hand.
Yeah, and you're being bottlenecked on blue a lot, so you have to be really careful when you're picking cards that have blue costs. That Evelyn is totally fine because the hybrid mana, you don't actually need blue mana at all to cast Evelyn. You can just play straight mono black and play Evelyn. But that Wandering Mind costs blue. And if you cast Wandering Mind to get a counterspell, you can't cast that counterspell. And I think Nicole is very deliberately getting rid of the blue to not have to worry about counter magic. I think that's paying off.
I agree. I think she was very deliberate and direct in attacking those blue sources.
There goes Mightstone, Weakstone. Even though there's one already out, that's a very interesting choice. Probably because it kills stuff.
Yeah, I think it also could be potentially just because of the card draw that you can get off of it. Not that because they do have another Bank Buster, but Nicole's deck wants to just draw a lot of cards. So yeah, I'm not sure, but we see the Skitterbeam Battalion come down, and this is going to be rough. Those 4/4s can overrun that Corpse Appraiser, and that's going to be a lot of damage coming in on Oa.
Yeah, having haste and trample is such a magnificent combination of abilities. It's extremely aggressive. And Oa draws just a land. It's not even a blue land either. So unless Oa draws a blue land with, say, Evelyn, there's no blue coming down anytime soon.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm not sure if, because we have what? We have Evelyn for 5, Fable for 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think what I would do here is, since this is open deck list, I would notice that Nicole has those burn down the houses and try to take one with Siphon Insight.
That might be a last-ditch effort to potentially, stay alive.
Yeah, because you can't Evelyn and take one because that's too much mana to pay. Draws a Field of Ruin, so the draw would not have been a burn down the house, but I don't know about the second card. So that Field of Ruin is going to target that blue source.
Yeah.
Very deliberate.
Yes.
Wow.
So now Oa has to decide, do I flash out Evelyn? Do I Siphon Insight and hope to get that burn down the house before, I no longer have blue? Because, I guess like you said, you don't need the blue for Evelyn, but you would need it for that Siphon Insight if that's what you're planning to do.
Yes. It may be extremely important to use Siphon Insight right now. Or not. I'm not quite sure. We'll see what happens when Oa gets priority here, because when Oa gets priority, that's when we know, okay, Evelyn's coming down. I thought it was, but then I didn't release the wiki.
It has been still waiting on that click to figure out if it's cast or not. It has been cast.
Okay. I'm just thinking, like, did it? Oh,
okay,
there's an
abrade. That is something. But
and it's fine because the Bank Buster gets crewed by the Appraiser. But Nicole has a negate backup for that abrade.
Yeah.
Because Evelyn, you can only cast one thing with Evelyn every turn. So if Oa pick, well, there's no blue anyway to cast Make Disappear, but it doesn't matter because you can use any mana to cast. Oh, I forgot to mention that. You can use any mana to cast what you exile with Evelyn.
Yep, but that abrade will get negated, so it will still be lethal. That was a good try. That abrade, had it, resolved, would have at least given Oa one more turn, but these counter spells, these tricky Grixis decks with counters, or I guess that's the Izzet deck with counter spells. Anything with blue.
Yeah, because both decks are playing 2 negates in the main, which makes total sense to me. I totally respect it. Very important card.
So we're looking at Oa sideboarding right now, seeing what they want to potentially bring in, take out. I don't think we've seen anything just yet. Would you potentially maybe put some of these blood tithe harvesters in, or yeah?
Not harvester, because there's too much removal on Nicole's side. I would actually probably potentially side in Brotherhood's end. Because look at all those artifacts that Nicole has. Those Thran spiders are coming. I mean, if I look at the deck list, I know that Nicole has 4 Thran spiders, 4 Benck busters, trying to get power stones down. Preventing that from happening is super, super important. If she decides to skitter beam, for instance, to prototype a skitter beam, that Brotherhood's end still kills them, because that's just 3 damage to everything. That's good. Ooh.
Yeah, that was a rough first hand on Nicole's side. This is a bit better. You have a turn 3 Fable, a turn. You wouldn't actually have a turn. Yeah, you would have a turn 2 Insight here because the swamp. We could throw back one of those slow lands. Oh, Nicole's side looked like it's a lot of lands. It was a lot of lands both times if I saw that first one right. Well, Nicole did get that burn down the house, so we may see that come out this game. But we're just going to see Oa hold up that Siphon Insight, maybe make Nicole fake her out and see if, if there's a counter spell in Oa's hand. And we're siphoning a Benck Buster.
I wonder what you pick here, Benck Buster or Benck Buster?
Right. So many options.
Eventually, when I make that joke, it'll be funny. Eventually.
That Goblin token will get abraded. Nicole says, no treasures for you. Can't let that happen. Nicole will draw into some more lands. I'm trying to figure out, it seems like that Field of Ruin, it was so good for Nicole last game that I'm not sure if I'd want to get rid of it.
It's tempting. If Oa only had 1 blue source, I think it would have been better to keep it. But since Oa has 2, spending that time to get rid of that blue mana is probably not worth it right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Since you know that Oa doesn't have any counterspells on the side. So if you're ready for counterspells, it's like, I'm good. Don't need to play that game right now. There's a Benck Buster.
Right. Looks like Nicole's potentially holding up that Brotherhood's End. Gonna Stern Lesson instead, get some more cards, get another Power Stone. Gonna send maybe that Sokin's into the graveyard. Yep. Oh, we do see Oa get that negate now. So we do see some counter magic over on their side.
I think it's the first counterspell that Oa's had, unless I'm misremembering.
Yeah, I don't think we saw Oa have any counter magic that last game, which is a little surprising.
I think Nicole's going to try really hard to get that Power Stone token this turn, because that's going to allow Cityscape Lover to come down next turn. Ooh. The Covetous, she's coming out. Nope.
Would you play Evelyn main phase, or would you wait to just flash her out on Nicole's turn?
Oh, I would totally play her on Nicole's turn.
Yeah, that's why I was interested when Oa was starting to hover over Evelyn. It's like, is this the time? But it looks like Evelyn's not going to be the choice. We're going to draw with the Reckoner Benck Buster and potentially Siphon Insight.
There's a Stern Lesson. Oa says this is fine. I think that's a fair choice. Stern Lesson is one of those cards that's not really a big negate target. It's usually not a good idea to play it because to negate it, because what it does is kind of, if you negate it, that means you're not negating an Urza's Power Stone. Wow, words. Mightstone, Weakstone means you're not countering Mightstone, Weakstone. It means you're not countering a Fable. It means you're not countering Burn Down the House. Like, there's so many more large impact. But the thing is, that's what sort of makes it so good, is that people are like, I won't counter this. But then the advantage that it gets you, it creeps up on you. Ooh,
Oh, these are both
nice.
good choices for Oa. Which would you choose? This is hard.
I would probably do Skitter Beam because if you take the leveler and you cast it and it dies, it doesn't go to your graveyard, it goes to Nicole's graveyard. So you don't want to make
Hmm.
sure that Nicole can't get that done. Also, Oa's on 5 right now, so it's more reliable to get the thing that you can cast right now versus getting something that you might not be able to cast for a few turns.
Also, I want to just say this. If you copy that Skitter Beam Battalion with your Kiki Jiki, that's that's a little insane, right? I'm not crazy.
No. Uh, no, it's actually Skitter Beam only gives you tokens when you cast it from your hand, or rather when you cast it, I believe.
That's
Let
fair,
me
but
double check.
still getting just a 4/4 with trample off of a copy, that's not the worst.
That's not too bad. Copying and getting 1. Yeah, if you cast it. So getting a token copy of a Skitter Beam isn't horrible, but you only get 1. You don't get the extra 2.
That's fair. That makes it a little less exciting, but not the worst. But we will
Yeah,
abrade this Cityscape Leveler. That thing can't stay. Has to go.
yeah. It broke all the parking laws by driving a Reckoner Bankbuster last game, so we had to arrest it.
Sir, I need you to get out of the car. You're too big. So we will see that Corpse Appraiser come down in and take that Cityscape Leveler out of Nicole's graveyard. You know, didn't
Very
like it the
good.
first time, don't like it the second time. So nope.
Beep,
So
beep.
here, do you take it the second Corpse Appraiser in case, you know, Nicole, because, you know, granted, we know Nicole has second Cityscape Leveler in hand. Yeah, I think in preparation for potentially having that come out again, um, having a second Graveyard Hate card in hand isn't the worst.
Yeah, and it's just the basic fact that the 3 cards were 2 lands and a spell, and you have 2 lands in your hand already. You're just going to take the spell. I mean, I
Yeah,
see no reason to take a land.
yeah, that's a good
You have
point too.
the Power Stone, so you can play Battalion. I mean, heck, without that land in hand, you have a treasure, so you can play Battalion for 9 if you want to. And that could be very, very important.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
Ooh,
see this Brotherhood's End. It's gonna take out the Corpse Appraiser and the Pilot. So, um, yeah, but Evelyn, she's here.
Nicole may not realize it yet, but I think this is game.
Yeah, because if we cast that Skitter Beam Battalion, that's 12, and Evelyn is, you know, more than 13. So, but you know, Oa's playing it a little bit safe.
True, true. Although Nicole does not have a counterspell for any creatures. Wait, no. Nicole has 2 Disdainful Stroke in this side. Okay, just kidding. Disdainful Stroke is totally a thing.
Yeah,
It's
and
totally
yeah, we definitely did see Nicole side those in because this is the match that, you know, you'd want those.
right,
So,
of course.
yeah, Oa is going to play it safe, going to push for 6, but that is lethal presenting on board next turn.
Yeah. Ooh, Skitter Beam could be nice. Burn down the house, doing
Oh,
exactly what it
and
was
we've got the
trying to
negate,
do.
and so if Nicole had the counter magic, that would probably be when we would see it come back. So, we'll see the oh, no.
Oh,
No, we won't. We will see a double
so
counter
rough.
spell.
There it is.
All
Now
right.
the Skitter Beam gets in there. Yeah, there you go.
So now we have game 3. All right. If you're Oa, what are you doing? Are you adding anything? Are you changing it up? Or
Man. Well, the first time, for the second game, there was nothing was sideboarded. I still stand by the idea that Brotherhood's End would be kind of good, but Siphon Insight really popped off that game, and I think it would be really, really important to be able to steal those artifacts and such. Takes out Blood Tithe, puts in, yeah. Takes out
oh,
the spiders, okay. Yeah, the spiders are gone.
oh, and at least one Brotherhood's in. That's very interesting.
2 Brotherhood's End. There goes the negate. Strokes are in there.
One burn down the house coming out.
Takes out a Field of Ruin. taking out a land is usually a very interesting choice to me because I rarely do it, and people rarely do it in general.
All right. Well, Nicole snap kept because you have an Abrade, you have a Fable on 3, and a Mightstone Weakstone. It looks like Oa kept as well. Not a turn 1 duress, but we could certainly have a turn 2 duress, or we can just hold up and make disappear.
Yeah, I do think Make Disappear is better because you know that Fable is potentially coming down. It's pretty likely.
Yeah, that was the choice because Fable on 3 is rough, and so if you can say no, that's the way to go.
Yeah, there you go.
And then here we go. Now we'll see the duress come through. If you're looking at this, you're probably gonna take that Mightstone Weakstone, right?
It's a choice between Mightstone Weakstone or Disdainful Stroke. It's sort of a question of, are you willing to let Disdainful Stroke be a thing that they have? Oba did take the Mightstone Weakstone, which I think makes sense because it is pressure.
Yeah.
But I personally would have taken Stroke and then tried to Urtai Mightstone Weakstone later.
That is very fair. I do believe just knowing that Disdainful Stroke is in hand is still just also, it's just key information. So you might try to figure out what you're baiting out, what you're trying to get them to play the Disdainful Stroke on, so you can keep some other things, from not getting countered.
Yeah. So, for instance, right now, if that Disdainful Stroke was the thing that was taken, there would be 4 lands, no counterspells, Reckoner Bank Buster's out. Potentially nothing would have been played that turn. But we don't know. That's too far ahead. This is the current game.
Evelyn, sometimes you don't need to board in your own Brotherhood's End when you can just take it from your opponent.
Exactly. Fun fact about Evelyn, if I recall correctly, if you play a second Evelyn, you still have access to the ones that for your first Evelyn. So
yeah, because they come in with, I think they're called covet counters. So
yes.
Yeah. Radiant Flame. Okay, I did not realize that was in Nicole's board. But that takes out Evelyn.
Yeah.
What's worse than first Evelyn? Second Evelyn. And this time, I think she's going to get flashed.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a collection counters, by the way.
Collection counters, yeah.
Yes, and they still have collection counters on them. So yeah, a second Evelyn, you can totally play more stuff. So here comes.
Gonna get 2 more cards as well to play around with. So we have the Brotherhoods. We got a lot of lands, but we like lands.
We love lands. And Oa really wants to make sure that those blue lands are out to prevent Nicole from playing the same game from game 1.
Mm-hmm.
Course Appraiser comes in. It's a vampire, so you get even more value with Evelyn.
Yeah.
There goes Urtai. Wow! More lands. Amazing.
More lands off Corpse Appraiser, and then let's see what we get off Evelyn.
Actually, I jest a little bit, but that Takenuma is perfect because it gets back Evelyn and lets you take 2 more cards. I would personally just play lands with that Evelyn right now.
Yeah,
I see no reason.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think you need to do anything else other than just play a land. Yeah. Well, what? Well, I guess we're gonna go combat first, and then play our land. Then play our land.
Yeah. Here we go. So I think Nicole's gonna try to Brotherhood's End and Abrade here. To try to kill both of those vamps.
Yeah, but granted, I know Oa's exile side's getting pretty big, but they do have a negate in their hand.
Yeah, and the thing of Nicole in this position, you have to do something about this Evelyn. If you don't, then Evelyn eventually is going to exile a counterspell.
Yes.
And if Evelyn exiles a counterspell, you're done. This is a rough position for Nicole.
Yeah, it's very much leaning in Oa's favor currently. Just because of all of the value that Evelyn has given Oa.
So from 0-1 to 2-1, potentially, is what you're saying. That's pretty awesome.
I love me a comeback kid story. Oh.
Lots of choices here. This is great. This is basically a demonic tutor right now.
Yeah, because you have the option of pretty much every card you want out of your deck. We're gonna take that duress and use it immediately.
Yeah, if anything, this is just to get information. Even if Nicole's hand was all creatures, I would not hate this duress because that would tell me that there's no counter spells. I
Exactly.
would
At this
probably.
point, I think you take the stern lesson because that draws cards potentially into a counter spell and creates a power stone.
I agree with that. Making that power stone is so dangerous. There's 6 lands out plus that treasure, so that's 1 away from Cityscape Leveler. Last thing you want is to give allow them to keep a guaranteed way to make that mana.
Yeah, and I mean, you know they don't have another land in their hand currently. You've been stealing them all, so uh
I mean, it's true.
so yeah,
Always
I think I would probably take a stern lesson here.
Bankbuster taking Bankbuster would also not be a bad play.
I agree. Oh,
What do
interesting.
you?
We're gonna just
Oh,
begin
that's
attacking Muma. Oh, and we're gonna take away Nicole's. Ooh.
yeah, that makes sense. There goes
Mm-hmm.
the Bankbuster.
Yep. But off of that treasure, it looks like we're gonna try to abrade something. Probably the corpse appraiser.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this means the second course appraiser. I mean, Nicole can't really play around that, so it is what it is. But that second
Mm-hmm.
course appraiser has something to eat now. Thematically, I don't think that makes any sense to have a vampire eat a corpse, but the corpse is a dead vampire, because I'm pretty sure dead vampires are supposed to turn into dust. But
Yeah. Yeah. Could that also be cannibalism? I don't know. I don't know how these things work.
yeah,
But we
is a
got a
vampire a species or is it a human condition?
so many questions. But
So many.
do we play the corpse appraiser from our exile, our collection counters, or do we play the corpse appraiser from our hand? We take the one from the collection counter, and then we get more value for our collections.
Yeah,
I
this
really
is
like this Evelyn build. Just the amount of value that we've gotten off of it, and the fact that Oa's not even playing the 4 Blood Tithe Harvester suite that we see in these Grixis decks, and still getting so much value just pretty much only off of these corpse appraisers has been, astounding to me.
yeah, Evelyn is a very scary card once she starts to pop off because she draws in like she from your deck, she draws into more vamps. And then from your opponent's deck, you can just get like guaranteed lands, you can get guaranteed answers. I especially dislike playing against her with my control list because she takes my removal, she takes my counters. Not
Hmm.
knowing whether or not that she took like a negate is so important. Ooh,
Yeah.
and that was a CC Lover that was exiled.
Oof.
Oa looks at it and is like, "Oh, I got one of those."
Well, we will see the Mightstone and Weakstone come down, and I think we're gonna have to get rid of that Evelyn. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
that's
collection is
about right.
gone, unfortunately. But, I think we got quite a bit of value off of it, to be fair. We will
Yeah,
see
but
that
that
second
Evelyn
Wandering Mind come down, though, so we'll see what we get off of that. Maybe one of the Invoke. Yep.
dies.
So here, what do you take? Do you take the Invoke Despair, one of the Fables? I think the Invoke Despair is probably the best option because it takes care of the Fable on the other side. It takes care of their, I think, one pilot. So, or
Yeah.
you play
Oh,
the
wait.
counter
It's
spell.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 mana on Nicole's side. So that's exactly enough. Oh yeah, and Oa did look at the hands, so they do know that leveler's in there.
Mm-hmm.
I can see this. This is playing around that basically. That's valid. I personally probably would have just taken Invoke Despair, just because that's exactly why it exists, is to be a late game card that you slam down to just win the game.
Yeah.
But I think Oa must be thinking, I can't close the game out right now because that leveler is a problem. Because
Yeah,
Oa
that's
doesn't
very
have
true.
removal. Yeah. All right. So what's that targeting? If I was Nicole, I would hit the Bank Buster probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You called it.
You can't let it keep drawing cards, so you have to get rid of it.
Yeah. But, Oa says no.
And that
Because, yeah,
Corpse Appraiser in the
Nicole
hand.
only has 1 mana to pay with.
I think it's worth also mentioning that this all has culminated because Evelyn was able to cast the Appraiser from exile. Instead of casting Appraiser from the hand and just playing a land Evelyn over and over, you're able to get that value because you never know how long Evelyn's going to live.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about her. Big Master gets crude.
Oh, I'm gonna sacrifice it. Okay. I don't necessarily think that was necessary because it's we didn't have the mana for the make disappear, I believe.
I'm confused by this play because there's no reason to sacrifice it because you get a Power Stone when it gets destroyed, but now you don't get a Power Stone.
Yeah.
That sort of play is something you do when the spell or ability has an additional effect that benefits the person who's playing it. So like if Nicole played something that said destroy target creature, draw a card, that could have been a
Mhm.
really good play. But Leveler gives the controller of that permanent the Power Stone. It doesn't give Nicole the Power Stone.
All right.
Um,
Yeah. So again, we had an option. We take the counter spell.
yeah, I mean, there you go.
And this is
Probably
really
too
good because, Nicole can crew that Bankbuster, but on the other side, Oa has 2 flyers. So it's like, that's fine. I don't care you have a 4/4. I've got two 2/1s in the air. I'm still getting through.
absolutely. I think the thing you have to be conscious about now is the fact that Nicole at any moment could draw Skitterbeam Battalion and just
Mm-hmm.
attack for 12.
Yeah, we could get that
Um,
skitter beam. I don't think we've seen the burn down the house, but did Nicole take all of them out, or I think just a couple, correct?
Shoot,
Oh
I
no,
did
no,
not.
we just drew a burn down the house, so we obviously did not get rid of them all.
Oh, but there's no land.
Oh no.
To Owa, that doesn't really matter because negate's there. But Nicole really, really needs that.
Yeah.
Mm, if I was Nicole here, I'd probably play Fable to try to draw into a counter spell to deal with potentially something.
Yeah, because
Um,
Nicole, she doesn't know Oa has the counter spell. We only know that. But you
right.
do have to be cognizant that there's counter magic, and that could be the one card Oa has.
And you can tell if somebody has a counterspell if they're not stopping the timer by seeing if the phase passes. So
Mm-hmm.
here the phase pauses, and that indicates that Oa, but this ability
Yeah.
resolves immediately. So this signals
Yeah, I
that
mean,
Oa has.
you could always put the stops in to, to fake it a little bit better, but it's a very good indicator that there is a counter spell.
Yeah. But the thing is, Nicole doesn't know if it's a negate or if it's a make disappear.
Mm-hmm. Because if it's
Nicole
make
knows.
disappear, we've got the fodder to sacrifice. If it's the
Yes,
negate, it's just the negate.
exactly. And that Fable is flipped right now. Oa does not have removal for it. An interesting play is crew the Bankbuster, copy with Reflection, draw a card with the Might Stone, Weak Stone mana, which is a nice way to sort of draw through the deck. It's a little convoluted because it requires 3 pieces to do, but is totally something that's possible.
Yeah, if I'm
Fables.
Oa here, I think I just slam in the air.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That 4 comes in. We
All
wait in
right.
anticipation.
I know, we're silently waiting.
So I
And
think
then,
Nicole is going to
yep,
say,
Nicole's gonna
just draw
draw up
with.
that Bank Buster, try to look for some counter magic, look for something.
Oh, Might Stone, Weak Stone's nice.
Yeah.
That's potentially bait for a counterspell. And that prevents you from dying to the Wandering Mind right now. It's also something you
Mhm.
can cast with the Mightstone, Weakstone, so it can basically be just a divination if you need it. Discards a mountain, draws a mountain.
Yeah, this is a very crucial moment because if Nicole plays that Might Stone Weak Stone and Oa decides to counter it, that burn down the house, although it will, completely, decimate both boards, that gives Nicole another, chance to possibly, survive. And then, granted, we would see both fables come back the next turn on both sides, but there's still actually, even if that happened, that fable on Oa's side would come down, the Bankbuster could crew. So I'm not really sure how Nicole, kind of survives this.
Bankbuster's Crew 3, so Fable itself
Oh,
doesn't.
it's 3. Okay, never
Yes,
mind. Just kidding.
that's why the pilot said 2 more. But
Mhm.
basically, it means if Oa draws a creature, okay, this is probably
Yeah.
it's not game because that um, Okay, draw. Ooh. That is not a negate. But
Nope.
Nicole can cast Mightstone, Weakstone. Wheatstone? Wheat? Like,
You know, the two stones, the eyeball stones.
Oa draws the card. It's land. Oh, but it doesn't matter because Oa has 3 creatures on the ground that can attack.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 is going to get in either way. Wow. What a hard-fought battle that was.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yep, this was one heck of a final game for tonight.
Oh my god.
So I mean, it's not over yet. Let's see how it plays out, see what the ending
Yeah.
looks like. But
You're right. You're right.
from what we're seeing, it definitely appears that Oa has the win if they swing.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Good game.
GG's.
If Nicole had one more mana, that Skitter Beam could have come down and blocked. Oh, wow.
And that was Xaxes.
Wow.
Wow, what a way to, end our top 16 evening.
That was insane. That was incredible, actually. Those 3 games were definitely extremely hard fought, and both players gave it their all, I think.
Yes. Congratulations to both Oa and Nicole for making it to the top 16. And that was a very hard fought game. Both players played tremendously, but congratulations to Oa for making it to the top 8, for getting that RC invite, and for getting invited to the VML champs that are going to happen later this year. So congratulations to all of our players that made it to the top 16. Congratulations to our winners. Yeah, thank you so much. Let me get everything I need to do up here. Just want to say thank you to Wizards of the Coast for, supporting, and they're the ones that make this possible. And thank you to Good Luck High Five. Good Luck High Five is a podcast with Maria and, oh my gosh, why can I not think? It's an amazing podcast. Maria and Megan, yes, the 2 M's. It's an amazing podcast that talks about Magic. They always go over some of the new sets coming out, and they get to play them and give us all their insight. Amazing people. Obviously, thank you so much to Phoebe. We could not do this without Phoebe. She's the best. Thanks to the rest of the admin team. Thank you, Kuro, and the rest of our amazing casters. And obviously, thank you to all of our players, because we really could not do this if they weren't here playing. And thank you to you, viewers. We do this all for you. So thank you so much. If you want to check us out, it's the VML MTG on Twitter. Obviously, you're already here on Twitch watching, I hope. So yeah, any last minute words you want to throw in there, Kuro?
That was just. I'm still reeling from that last game. That was a grind, and that's exactly the type of game that I get to enjoy playing. So, wow, it's good. Good games all around.
Yeah, well, I guess come back next Friday. Next Friday, everything is going to be played live. I think everything's played live. It's going to be the top 8 into the top 4 into the finals. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, come back next week and see how the rest of the VML season 8 shakes out. All right. But I think that's all for us this week. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.